Hey, it's Elizabeth. I'm trying to see how to edit in this part of the video, the introductory part. I do it on my regular podcast. If you listen on Apple or iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcast, I usually have an intro section. How do you do it on camera? I don't know. So thanks for bearing with me. Hope you're having a fabulous week. I'm about to go to Las Vegas next week for a conference. And here's what's new. I'm really looking forward to my chat with Brad Ritter. He and I could not have more opposite lives. Brad has had a really stable, successful, just wonderful life. He describes himself as being a man raised in the Midwest with a happy family who went on to marry and replicate that, having a happy family. But he felt a real lack and needed some external challenges. If you've gone through traumas like I have with kidnapped children or domestic violence or any, life brings us traumas, it's hard to imagine that there are people out there who look externally to challenge themselves to see what they're made of. And I so admire that. So I look forward to Brad talking to us about that today. Don't forget that we have a whole bunch of podcasts on the backlist. So there are many different interviews with survivors and strivers that I think you're going to enjoy. And this week for me personally, also, I'm excited to let you know that my fun little essay, which if you write a lot about trauma, you look forward to having fun things to write about as well. My fun essay is going to be in Chicken Soup for the Soul on a stray cat that lives in my neighborhood. I know it seems silly, but I love that cat so much, and so does the entire neighborhood. So that's kind of cool. And I also was invited last minute sort of to help Lifetime promote the movie that's based on my book. The movie is called Stolen by Their Father, available now on Lifetime, Hulu, think of Vudu, and Amazon Prime. You have to rent it. But anyway, it's based on my memoir, Pieces of Me Rescuing My Kidnapped Daughters. Well, apparently it's been released in Latin America. And so that's South America and Central American countries. And I got to be a part of its launch there by being interviewed by a whole bunch of reporters, one by one, online, which was so cool. People from Chile and Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, many, many different beautiful places. Many I've been to and some I have not. And they were excited to talk about violence against women and what we should be doing about it. So it was neat to have that movie be released and be a part of that important conversation. Thanks for being here. I hope I do this right with Brad Ritter. Oops, I did that wrong. Just one moment. So I need to stop recording. There. Just like I said, for sisters and brothers, I'm so honored to bring Brad Ritter to the show. Brad and I have had sort of opposite lives with similar conclusions. And Brad, thank you so much for being here on Persistence U. Please tell us a little bit about your story of how it was that you came to seek out adversity, really. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how that has happened, because I absolutely adore that you're someone who says, hey, when you go through a crisis or a super hard time, that can be an asset. It's not always a curse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Elizabeth, for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. And yeah, you summed it up. I believe now, just with my experience on this planet, I'm 43, and what I've been taught, just my own perspective, is that adversity really helps forge your character. You discover kind of who you really are. It'll help prioritize what's important, what's not. And I'm just a proponent of inviting what I call purposeful adversity into your life to help, accelerate that and help you discover who you really are, and just get you rocking and rolling where you want to be in life.
I love it. Tell us a little bit about your life before you discovered this, because it seems like you came from the life that many of us aspire to, where you had a happy family. You then went and replicated that.
Yep. And still do, right? So I consider myself very fortunate. I grew up oldest of four children. very close family, parents still married. I mean, I was fortunate, came from a great household, didn't have to really worry about, putting a roof over my head or, where am I going to eat my next meal. We weren't rich, but I knew we weren't poor because we knew who those quote unquote, those kids are in school. And I knew I was just kind of somewhere in between. And I live in Indiana, born and raised. So, Midwestern values, and people say thank you, and very, very courteous. And long story short, I came to the realization when I was about 35 that I was too comfortable. Life had just gotten a little bit too comfortable,
Wow.
and not just, where I was living in my house, but like my job, and what am I really here to do on this planet? And I just had this epiphany that I need to bring adversity into my life, because I think that's where I'm going to find out like who I really am. And
I love that. I mean, that's
thanks.
so cool
Thanks.
because many of us just can't even imagine that. But I think we're built for some stress, aren't we?
We're totally built for stress. Yeah, absolutely. The human body can endure just so much pain and purpose that it goes along with it. And I'm not talking about, putting yourself in quote unquote harm's way where something, really bad could happen to you. I'm talking about just doing like waking up early. Okay. I still struggle with that. That's a very easy thing to do. Wake up early in the morning. It stinks, but I make myself do it. I try to get uncomfortable, whether it's, working out hard or, public speaking. Hey, I still get scared to go, talk in front of an audience, but I know that's going to make me a better person. So, putting yourself in those types of situations to help grow. And I do some like motivational speaking, things like that. And when I look at most motivational speakers out there, they've had these just crazy backgrounds, right? They've just gone through this loads of adversity, like unbelievable. Whether they've like fought a disease, cancer, they've been
Sure.
deployed, been to war, lost some loved ones. I mean, just terrible, terrible stuff. Now, I'm not saying I want that at all, but I believe people who have been through that, like they just have this different mindset once they've conquered it. Like you can tell it by the way you talk to them. Like they've been there, they've got that life experience, and I
Mhm.
don't think you really know who you are until until you're forced to make some tough decisions, and your back's up against the wall.
So, how was it that you were a pretty young man still? I mean, I'm way older than you, so it seems like you're really young, but you looked, you have this good family background, a happy marriage, stable employment. How did you go about finding a place to really test your mettle?
Yeah, so I read a book that really started to inspire me. Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit, and if you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. And she was talking about how grit in her studies is one of the leading indicators and predictors of success in life. And the cool thing about grit is it can be grown, like it's something you can work on, day in, day out. And she has this cool little the grit scale you can take on her website. It's still there. It's 10 questions. I mean, you take it in like 2 minutes. And I took it, and out of a scale of 1 to 5, I think I scored like a 2, which meant I wasn't that gritty. And I'm very competitive just by nature. So I was like, okay, but it made sense because the way the
True.
questions were, like I was just the king of I'd work on a project, the next shiny thing would come along, and then I wouldn't finish that project. I'd move on to this over here. Like that, okay, yeah, I get it. I don't see things through a lot of times. So I wanted to flip that around. And in her book, she talks about how you can grow grit from the inside out, you can grow it from the outside in.
Okay.
I wanted something quick that would really like test me. So I was like, all right, I want to grow my grit from the outside in. How am I going to do that? And I've always believed in taking care of yourself, physical training, that sort of thing. So I thought maybe that's it. And so
Okay.
I thought, well, maybe a race, I'll go run a marathon or whatever. And those are great, but I thought, no, it needs to be more. And I came across YouTube, and I typed in world's toughest training, and this camp came up put on by Navy SEALs that
Oh,
civilians you could pay to do this. And you go through basically a very watered down version of Hell Week, which if you know anything about the Navy SEALs, during their training to get selected to actually, teach them how to do their job. I think it's about 6 months. Inside of that, there's Hell Week, and there's no sleep. So it's just you're constantly moving. And the idea is they completely break you down and just see what's left. And if you're left, then you earn the right to actually be taught. The unique thing about this camp was it's designed to weed you out, but the SEALs were there to also teach you
Okay.
in those moments that you wanted to quit and give in and throw in the towel. They teach you the tools, the tactics to not do it. And that's what interested me. So I signed up and did that when I was 35. And I mean, it's just one of those moments you'll never forget. And it completely changed my life. And I was a brand new person, brand new man coming out of that. Just
Wow.
a whole new version, whole new mindset. Learned so many tools and tactics, and you'll find all those in my book. That's why I wrote my book, was to kind of capture that and let people kind of learn without having to go through the 50-hour beat down that I did.
I love that you went through the 50-hour beatdown. Was there a moment where you thought, I'm not going to make it?
Yeah,
Or was it the whole
pretty
time?
much right away.
Okay.
So
Great.
yeah, I mean, I'm just being honest. It's our mental, our inner dialogue,
Right.
like, will play tricks on all of us. Always does.
Right.
And I mean, right when I'm there, it's okay. Everybody looks a lot younger than me. You start comparing yourself, how you look physically with these other, specimens, and okay, do they know something I don't? Why is so and so doing it? Yeah, all these doubts start coming in. That wasn't too bad. But then the very first, they call them evolutions. The very first event we did was about 2 hours, and it's called Breakout, and it's just to mimic complete chaos. So you've got instructors who are in your face, many of them with blowhorns, yelling at you. You're being sprayed by water hoses, and you're trying to carry out directions, but you don't know who's saying what. And it's just, and you're doing every calisthenic you can possibly think of, push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, flutter kicks, just on and on for a couple hours. And I just got to thinking towards the end, I said, I can't keep this pace up. Like, this thing's over 50 hours. I'm 2 hours in, and I'm completely smoked. Like,
Wow.
help me out, and yeah, so that was the first time that I thought, whoa, I mean, I knew I trained hard, but it's like, did I train hard enough?
Right.
And then, I made it through that. And that was just, for me, going there, I had these, and I think this is actually a really good topic here that I'm getting ready to go into. It's important to have goals, like big gnarly goals that scare you, but being able to like peel those back and have little wins you can collect along the way. And I had two major ones when I signed up for the camp. One was, I knew Breakout existed. You could see the videos. I knew what to expect. It was surviving that. I was like, I want to survive that. And then I want to make it through the first night. If I make it through the first night, I'll make it through the second night. That was like my two big milestones. So,
Wow.
went in those first 2 hours, and we lost 5 people that first
Oh,
2 hours.
wow.
Yeah, we lost people.
Okay.
And these are people who had trained hard. And did they have the physical tools to do it? Yeah, they did. But mentally, they couldn't handle it. They were thinking what I was thinking. How am I going to do this for the next 48 plus hours? And it's like, no, don't think that way. How am I just going to survive this next minute?
I like it.
Next 5
Okay.
minutes. Yeah.
I like that takeaway for regular life crises too, because there are the big goals, which is getting through whatever, but then you want to collect those small wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the mindset, at least for me, when I'm going through something really rough, it stops being, can I do this? And it turns into, how will I do this?
Yeah.
I've decided this is a must do. So how will I survive this? And I really like that, Brad. So what did your family think? I mean, here you are, you're probably spending some real cash going to do this thing that, some people would say, is that a midlife crisis? But you were way too young for that. But, what did your family think? And when did you know that this experience had takeaways that could benefit other people in the way of a book?
Yeah, great question. So I'll try to answer all those. Let me know if I forget one part of it. But yes, my family thought I was crazy. No one
Yes.
could understand why. Again, why would you want to do this? You've got life by the horns, right? You're
Right.
comfortable. You got this nice house, nice marriage. Like, are we not good enough? Like that stuff. And it's
Right.
like, it's deeper than that. And sometimes that stuff's hard to relay what you're feeling, but it's like, you just know it inside that I have to do this for me. I can't
Right.
explain it, but I know when I go to this place, like, something's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to have this like spiritual encounter for the first time. As they like to say at that camp, a lot of people meet themselves for the first time. And
Wow.
that's what I think adversity does, is a lot of times you get to find out who you really are.
Right.
Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing,
Right.
but at least you know where you are. And if it is bad, if you're like, dang, I didn't realize I'd act that way in this situation. Cool.
Right.
Good that you know that now, because you can
Right.
learn to overcome that in the future. But if you
Right.
didn't have that experience, you wouldn't know that. You'd be playing Monday morning quarterback all day, and, oh, this is how I would do it. Oh, I would do it this way. You don't know. No one knows until you're actually in the heat of the moment how you're going to react and what you're going to
Right.
do and what you're going to say.
Right.
So yeah, my family thought I was crazy. Parents, wife, friends. I had two friends who knew why, but they were in the military, so they kind of got it a little bit. Like,
Right.
yeah, I get it. I know why you're doing it. Um, did it cost money? Yes, it did cost a significant amount of money. Funny how I got it though. The company I used to work for, um, McGraw-Hill Education is their name. I was in the education space. Every year they would have this really cool event where all the people in the company, or most people in the company, would come together and celebrate that year. And they always done up to the nines, like really
Okay.
cool. You dress up for dinner, really nice. You get awards on stages,
Gee.
that sort of thing. Yeah, super cool. Well, I had been to enough of these, and usually the awards are monetary, or some sort of gift card, or maybe a gift like a pair of shoes or a bottle of wine or something you've been wanting. And I looked at my boss and I said, I'm going to be the number one rep next year. And when I walk across stage, I don't want any of that. I want to go to this camp. I want you guys to,
Wow.
and she said to me, Liz, if you're listening right now, she said, Brad, if you're the number one rep, I'll get you pretty much anything you want. And I was like, all right. So that's what happened. Long story short, that next year I had a killer year, was rep of the year, and I got to walk across stage, and they gave me a certificate to help send me to that camp.
That
Yeah.
is amazing because you called your shot.
Yep.
You had a goal in mind and you had the confidence, because that's a pretty audacious goal, but you had the confidence to at least say, yes, here's what I'm willing to do to get it, but this is what I'm going to want. I have
Yep.
this in mind. And I think that's really powerful.
Thank you. And I wanted the experience, I
Yeah.
didn't want, I mean, money's nice, sure, a little bonus or whatever, but it's like, no, this is truly transformational. And boy, was it. So fast forward,
Mm.
how did I get from, I think you had asked that experience, how did it become a book? I never
Right.
intended on writing a book at all. I still remember being on the flight home after being up at this point almost 60 hours. I took out a notebook and I wrote down, I was like, I want to remember everything I went through. So
Yep.
I literally wrote 2 pieces of paper. It was just every evolution we did chronologically. And then I passed out and I woke up in the airport. Yeah, we had gotten to our gate. I put that notebook up. I didn't touch it for like a year. And then what happened though was everybody wanted to know, because I had told everybody that hey, I
Right.
was going to this camp. You won't hear from me. Like, if you hear from me, that's a bad thing, because either I got hurt or I quit. But I knew I wasn't going to quit. And the more I told my story to family and friends, they're really the ones that got me motivated, because they supported me. And a
Oh,
lot of times you'll find that in business, or if you're starting a nonprofit or something, all it takes is for someone to believe in you, just one person. And I had several, and they said, you should turn this into a book. So when I started off writing the book, it it wasn't to become a bestseller or anything like that. It was really part of a legacy exercise that I was working on for my family, for my wife, for my kids, for my friends, because it will outlive me. Like, when I'm gone, this book will still be around, or people can
right.
still read it and order it. And I thought, man, what a cool gift to leave behind to my wife and kids and parents and brothers and sisters and friends. And because there's so much in there, and I feel like I killed it with just how it ended up. Like, and that I and I'm going off on another tangent, but like people have asked me, how did you know when the book was done? And I'm like, it's never going to be perfect because there's always things you're going to change. But if I can read it and I'm like, hell yeah, this fires me up. This is going to help people. Like, okay, cool. I've done my job,
Good.
and I had that feeling.
Your mindset was perfect because it's like,
Yep.
I am going to serve other people with the experience that I was fortunate to have.
That's it.
I love it. I love it. And again, one thing I just so appreciate, there are a lot of people who experience adversity, and, it can go one of two ways. It can absolutely distill who we are and help us to be a real sculpted version, a person that we didn't even know we had the potential to become. Or we can take a foray into depression, anxiety, substance abuse, or many other things, have an early death. I mean, it doesn't always turn out well, but it's really important that you honor the fact these experiences, they're sacred. They really can be sacred. And things that are hard on us show us who we're made of. Maybe it's not always what we like, but there's a chance that we take that feedback and change and bring our best self forward. That is so great. Tell a little bit about the experience you've had as an author getting feedback.
It's been amazing. I mean, I hired a team because at first I started writing and I was like, okay, I don't have any plans, but then it took me 5 years. So I thought, okay,
Sure.
the time, the money, that, all that good stuff that I have invested, I was like, I want to make a go of this and see if I can't become, quote unquote, a bestseller. So I hired a team to help me, and they were just phenomenal to work with. And yeah, I became a bestseller basically overnight in Amazon. And that was like the coolest thing. And I had this like virtual launch party and had Mark Devine on, who's the founder of that camp called Kokoro Camp that I had gone to, which was huge, to have one of your mentors actually come on and join. So it was amazing experience. And I still continue to this day because the book launched in March. And just because the book launches, for those who have written books or are going to, like, that's just one part of it. You should have I have a long-term plan with this, and so it's not just kind of like one and done with me. So I'm keeping the pressure on and trying to get the book out in front of as many people as I possibly can, because I know it's got the power to help people, because it already has. And that's what I've gotten in return, whether it's emails, Instagram messages, pictures, people just, hey, I got your book. It helped me go run this half marathon. And I'm like, well, like, how cool is that? How cool is that? Because it's just got generational effects too. Not only is it helping that person, but the people around them.
That's right. And I remember I had listened to an interview where you said that there was somebody who had a real recent hardship with weather, right? It was either a tornado or a hurricane. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there was a hurricane in New Orleans, and this gentleman sent me a picture of him. Behind him, his house is gone. His neighbor's house is gone, but he's holding my book up and he's like, this is the definition of grit. I'm like, yeah, that's it right there.
Wow.
You got it. Who can, like, literally lose everything and still have a smile on their face and still serving others. I mean, that's what it's all about. And I think we just need more of that in the world. Not more hurricanes, but more of that, right. more of the service piece, looking out for our brothers and sisters. Yeah.
Definitely agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Where can listeners, viewers on YouTube, where can they connect best with you to learn more about, you and the School of Grit?
Yeah, just check out schoolofgrit.org. That's the best way to connect with me. Not .com. I don't own that domain, and I'm not going to pay for it, at least not right now. So go to schoolofgrit.org, and it's got all my contact information there. And I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. So I shouldn't be too hard to find. I so appreciate your time, and it's been terrific meeting you. You too, Lizbeth. Thank you so much.